Hello everyone and welcome back to the ESV TV Korean Weekly Season number 3. We're going to be jumping to Game 2 now between Todd and Crank, and it's going to be on Ohana. Let's jump in and get this game started. Alright, here it is, guys. Game 2 in this best of 3 between Todd in the 11 o'clock position, representing Team Fnatic Raid Call as our blue Protoss, against his opponent in the 5 o'clock position, Crank, as our light pink Protoss, representing Team Slayers. He has that 1-0 advantage. He played pretty darn well that last game. It seemed like there were a lot of timings that he could have hit that he missed, but he knew what he was doing. He waited, got up a really nice unit composition. Hit basically before Todd had that 4th base, really was really getting benefit from it, and before he had his mothership out, and had better positioning, better unit composition. Well, maybe not better unit composition, but I mean the better positioning is really what did it in that last engagement.
Yeah, I mean that's all it came down to. That was the only thing he had going for him. So on to Ohana. We'll see. It's kind of funny actually because I can't remember who Todd was playing, but we cast him in a PvP on this map where he did a proxy 2-gate. Do you remember this game?
It sounds familiar, but
and
I
then,
don't particularly.
Basically, one stalker kited his zealots forever,
Oh, yeah.
and he lost the game. And then at the end, he blamed the map.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of funny. It's kind of like I don't think the map had any impact on the stalker. There was plenty of space. But anyway, this game, did Crank go for a 10-gate here? His gateway is a fair amount ahead.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It might have just been that he went 12 and Todd went 13.
Yeah, I think Todd went 12, so it might have been 11. Okay. But
right. Maybe
we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe we're gonna see one of those Korean 11-gate 4-gates or something like that, or 10-gate 4-gate.
Yeah, maybe one of the 3-gate pressures. Those are kind of cool. I like those builds. We'll see. There's the cybernetics score going down nice and quickly here.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs that immediately. He'll drop his pylon after that, of course, since he did go for such an early gate. Didn't have that his probes up too high. There's the core coming up. So look at that. It's a was that 13 or 14 second discrepancy on the cyber core timing.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can make enough of a difference. But I don't know, we'll see what Crank's able to actually do with that difference to pull himself a new advantage, because you got to remember when you cut probes to do that, he's down 1 probe because of getting that gateway earlier. And actually Todd going for a gas steal here, despite how ridiculously early his opponent's core timing was. He's got to know his opponent probably wasn't going to try to take that second gas anytime soon. So I got to wonder, is he doing that just for scouting, or did he actually think Crank was going to take that second gas and wanted to limit it? I mean, he should realize when that core finished so much earlier than his, that, wait a minute, he might just 4-gate me.
Now, it can also be kind of a similar trick to what Zerg players do when they gas steal in TVZ. He just wants to kind of force units to stay at home to kill that gas geyser, or just make it abundantly clear that his opponent isn't taking that gas. It's kind of like indirect scouting information. There's actually gateway number 2 and 3 going down here, so I would say he's going for a pressure here. This is a kind of build that I like a lot, basically. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm still kind of trying to do my best to learn PvP. But what it will often do, it won't kill your opponent, but it will force them to make like 2 or 3 or even more sentries just to hold it off. And then that's just a huge sunk amount of gas that doesn't actually pay off a lot in the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't want to overspend on sentries. It really does, limit your tech options and delay your Robo, delay your Twilight tech. But what Todd's doing is really interesting right now. He showed double gas, and then he pulled probes off, so he's only got a total of 3 probes on gas. And then he ended up dropping 2 additional gateways here at the natural and fully walled off with a pylon. So he's realized that his opponent's going for some heavy aggression here. He just wants to be able to stop it regardless with his full wall. And he actually has the unit advantage right now. So Crank forced to fall back. He does have that double pylon block, but he lost his probe, unfortunately. He will be able to move that stalker up, though, and warp in Zealots past that 4th pylon. Oh, I like that move by Todd. Adds a 4th gateway and a pylon, so Zealots will not be able to warp in next to that pylon. And in fact, it would be almost impossible to warp them in here since, there's the ramp. They'd only be able to warp in behind that gateway. They can't really do anything. In fact, I'm surprised Crank's even still trying to go for this pressure at all.
This is a lot of pylons in a very far forward position here. And I mean, you're definitely right. He can just keep on warping units. We'll see here. Not really focus firing any specific building here, just kind of moving up that ramp. And, can he make a force field? No, he doesn't actually have energy, but if he force fielded right behind those units, it would be pretty dicey. And actually warping in Zealots, like, that one Zealot was just walled in on that small portion of the high ground there.
Yeah, really odd choices of where to warp in for Crank, but he might just be able to pick off this gateway and start flooding in with Zealots. Todd might want to get over here. Actually, No, that Zealot can't get through that little choke point, I guess, but he could warp in some Zealots on that low ground, have them engaging into the Stalkers right now. Oh, nice play by Todd with that Zealot he warped, and he trapped the Stalker of Crank and picked it off. And it looks like Todd's going to easily hold this with 5 Stalkers on the upper ground. There's just no way that Crank is actually going to bust through this. And Crank, I got to say, he's got a pretty big disadvantage right now. He's down on probes, and he's going to be down on gas mining. Finally, Todd feels comfortable enough to put those probes back into gas. Actually, one of them missed. There we go. Yeah, now he's got all 3 in each gas. So he's going to be able to tech up so much quicker than Crank. Crank not only threw away a lot of units, but also those pylons, and still hasn't taken out that second gas. He's so far behind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see what he can do. The counterattack is just going to be so powerful. Todd is basically permanently going to have a unit advantage, and he can't really afford to be making sentries here to force field his ramp and not die.
Have the gas.
He doesn't have he doesn't have the gas for it. He actually cancels the robo because he's like, I just need to worry about not dying right now. He does still have a pylon out on the map. Actually, Todd found that. He leaves 1 Zealot to deal with it. So Todd just playing a beautiful game here. This is very nice play from Todd here, and he is still teching up at home. So he just wants to get up here, force his opponent to make units, forces that robo to get canceled. Obviously, he doesn't know for certain about that, but he's just kind of all around in an advantageous position, and he doesn't want to push his advantage, and he's already got Blink on the way, so why push your advantage?
I gotta say, though, that was a really nice play by Crank. Canceling the robo, everything he did there, chronoing his gateways. If he hadn't done every single move he just did, he would have just lost the game right there to those 6 Stalkers from Todd. But he actually played exactly the way he needed to, got up to the defenses just barely in time, held the top of his ramp. But as you said, with Todd, not only with Blink, but also the robo for obs. What, Crank taking a Nexus? What? I mean,
he has to take a risk, right?
Yes, he has to take a risk.
He's got to do something. He's still way behind.
He needs his robo to be able to do that. Like, you can't do this without Immortals. You can't just have fewer Stalkers than your opponent.
Yeah.
There's this robo. I don't know if it'll be a time, though. You can't have fewer Stalkers than your opponent and not have Blink. They're just going to come absolutely destroy you. I feel like Todd could basically just go kill him as soon as Blink's done, especially with an Observer.
Yep, I agree. We'll see. I mean, we've seen him work miracles. That last game, it was looking so good for Todd all along, but he just couldn't quite close it out. Now we do have 2 sentries also out for Crank here, so once again, that's 4 supply of units that don't really do much damage. And of course, with the Blink out, it's really hard to kind of catch or trap any units. So Todd really should be able to do a ton of damage. I mean, his unit count is so high. Can he just Blink on top of these units?
Yeah, he should be able to actually. Oh, he decides to Blink away, though. He's going to play it safe, which not a bad move at all. Just wait for another warp in. He has 4 gates, or that 4th one just finished. So yeah, he's able to warp in 4 Stalkers at a time. There's no reason you absolutely have to just Blink up the natural. I mean, if you have an Observer, it's like, why take the risk? You might win, but you don't know how many probes your opponent has that are natural. They might pull probes and actually win the engagement. If they have Zealots there, it's going to be some problems. So I like that he just sends a Zealot into the natural just to scout, make sure the army's still there. And he's going to go up into the natural. Oh my god, if he gets this pylon! No, he started target firing actually the robo. If he had kept target firing the pylon, that Immortal actually would not have popped out. But still, excellent move. Only 1 Immortal is ever going to be out here. Whereas if he had targeted the pylon, the Immortal would have been delayed. But after the pylon came out, he would have still been able to continue producing them. So a great decisive move by Todd, and it's going to give him a huge advantage. I don't know if that's... I just don't even know if Crank can come back from that. You need so many Immortals to deal with Blink Obs.
Yeah, I mean, he's immediately remaking the robo. He wasted not a second throwing that down again, but it's just a tough spot here. And I mean, Todd's made his Nexus too. It's not finished yet, but the probe count is even, so the economies are going to be pretty much the same. And he can just keep on poking up around here, and as long as he doesn't, fail hard with his micro, Todd should really be able to take this game. He's got 15 Stalkers to his opponent's 8, but of course his opponent also has 3 sentries, 5 Zealots, and the single Immortal.
Yeah, and while sentries, you can blink out of force fields, they're excellent if your opponent uses blink improperly. Like, if they try to blink into your base, and then you can force field them off, they can't escape. Or if they try to, blink away, but they're still trying to run down the ramp, then you can, throw down those force fields and catch some of those units. So he still has to be careful. He also has Guardian Shield on his side, so that's really helpful for Crank. And it looks like he's going to hold on for now. I feel like this is one of those situations where Todd made a good choice in terms of playing it safe. He took it as a natural expansion. But I feel like this is one of those situations with 4-gate and blink, after killing the robo... I mean, if you hadn't killed the robo, take your Nexus. There's going to be too many Immortals. But if you kill the robo, I feel like he could have just kept warping in Stalkers, chronoed his gates, and actually just gone and killed Crank. But as it is, we might just end up, moving into more of a standard macro game.
Yeah, it seems like with 2 Immortals now out, he certainly can't really attack into that natural, and he doesn't seem to want to split up his units and try and attack and blink into 2 spots at once. That's just, or 2 different spots at once. That's just so hard to do. And now they're both just going up to Colossus, so... The Colossus counts are probably going to be pretty similar here, but Todd actually already gained that second Robo, and he's got a Forge as well. So once again, he's got a very solid lead in basically every way. He's got the gas at his expansion sooner. He's got a higher probe count. He's got better tech. But he had all that last game and still didn't quite get it done. So he really needs to just stay calm, stay patient, and just keep on playing his game.
Absolutely. Double Robo is such an intelligent move if you think your opponent's going for Colossi, and he knows that Crank doesn't have Blink yet, he hasn't shown it, he's not like making a ridiculous amount of Zealots, so it's probably not charged out Archon, and if you already have Robotech and you're making Immortals, you're probably going to be going up to Colossi. So for him to know, alright, my opponent's going Colossi, he's been so pressured and had to make so many sentries that he probably doesn't have the gas to go double Robo Colossi, so I'm going to go double Robo, and that means I'll just have more Colossi and I'll win because of that. So, but that didn't work out for him in game 1 due to a positioning mistake and, perhaps making too many probes and such. So I don't know. We'll see if he's able to do it a little bit better in this game. Looks like Crank actually moving out, perhaps to be aggressive. This might actually be a good timing considering the Nexus has just been started from Todd.
Yeah.
But he actually doesn't have any Colossi yet, so it would be pretty awkward to tech up to Colossi and then try to go attack. Todd already has one Colossus out with the second one about to complete. So if Crank tried to attack, Todd would have 2 Colossi against 0, and Todd would certainly win that. So I think Crank just wants to get those Stalkers away from his base so we can actually have a little bit more freedom and map control.
Yeah, I think he wants to at least just imply some pressure too, because he had an Observer out that saw a probe in position to throw that Nexus down, but then the Observer actually got picked off, so he's not really 100% certain what's going on, but he really thinks his opponent is just kind of turtling out some. So I like the idea of getting out on the map, but once again, he's it's so ridiculous. It's like he's up 5 supply, but he's still so far behind, but that's really how I see it, because this Colossus count is really going to start spiraling out of control.
I'm actually really scared. What? He just warped in 2 more sentries? Oh my god, I don't know what that was for, but I can't wait to see. Hopefully use it for something awesome. But in any case, I'm actually pretty scared for Todd right now, because yet against one of those situations where he might be doing too much at once. I didn't realize when he went double Robo, he actually was forgoing Colossus range to do so. So the fact Crank actually has Colossus range and Todd doesn't. So this could actually be really scary. Crank also, not only is he up on food, but yet again, he's down on Harvesters, so he's up 8 more food than it looks like in terms of his actual army supply right now. So he's up 10 army supply, and he has Colossus range when his opponent doesn't. Now, this isn't a good position, attacking up a ramp like this with that many Zealots without charge, but now there's 3 Colossi, 4 Colossi for Todd, only 2 for Crank. Will he have enough to bust through this? So that's a lot of Zealots, and Todd's Colossi just a little bit out of position. They're a little bit clumped up as well, but so are Crank's.
Yeah, it's looking very close. Crank pushing in so hard here. He's actually might even take out a Robo here, and it looks like the Colossus count now 2-2, and Crank may very well win this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, Todd did not target fire Crank's Colossi, and Crank did target fire Todd's Colossi. I can't believe it. He's going to win this game and take a 2-0 victory. Wow, unbelievable play. He just knows how to hit those timings, man. Before Colossus range was done, right after his opponent took his third, even up a ramp like that with Zealots where his opponent had a much better position and twice his Colossus count. But you know what, Todd, even though every game I'm seeing like really good like Blink Micro and really good builds and really good decisions.
Too much at once, you think?
Well, part of it is that he does too much at once, like trying to go double Robo and take a third, forgoing Colossus range and trying to get +1 is just way too much to do at once.
Yeah.
But on top of that, even though his Blink control is so good, his actual Colossus control and his actual like main army control has been maybe not, it's not been like bad, but not as good as Crank's. Crank was consistently during that fight using both his Colossi to target fire Todd's Colossi, and all game long Todd's Colossi were on attack moves. So at the end of that fight, both of Crank's Colossi were still alive and are actually still full HP, which you just, I'm sorry, like the Colossi are the single most important units in that composition. You have to be target firing those down immediately with your Immortals and your Colossi, and we didn't see that, and I think that might have been, I mean, maybe would have lost anyways, but I feel like that was really the nail in the coffin that caused Todd to lose that game.
Yeah, just I would definitely agree, and just combined with, I mean, he's going double Robo Colossus with the third base getting added, with a Forge also upgrading, and foregoing Thermal Lance to get all that, whereas his opponent is just kind of being a kind of more streamlined and just kind of going and not getting all that kind of extra fluff that's going to help out later on. So, I mean, if Todd had held there, it would have been an easy win for him. But, you know, he had such an advantage in the early game after holding off that 3-gate that I really thought he shouldn't be losing that game. But that's the way things go. I mean, that's kind of Crank, man. He's pretty good.
I mean, I think part of that was just a lack of scouting, to be honest. Now that I'm looking at it, I hadn't realized this. I'm looking at Crank's base. you know, the fact that he had so few probes, he actually never took his 4th gas. That was actually a 2-base all-in. That's why he had so many zealots.
Yeah.
He never took a 4th gas, wasn't planning on transitioning and having more Colossi or a 3rd. And when you're defending a 2-base all-in, you can't be taking a 3rd. I mean, going back to the doing too much stuff, it's not just doing too much stuff, and Crank was doing, like, you know, just standard stuff. Crank was going for an all-in. And you have to really... If you're going to try to take a 3rd against someone going for a 2-base all-in, you have to really kind of just barely do... just barely what you need. You can't do more than you need and, you know, try to make it work. So unfortunately for Todd, he had some great play that series. I don't think the score really reflects it, but unfortunately he loses 2-0. So Crank moving on with a very respectable finish there. Or not finish, but very respectable, you know, what is the word I'm looking for here?
Result?
Performance. Yeah, result. Performance or result in that game. And we're going to move on to our next series, which I believe is going to be in round 3. Yeah, in round 3, and it's going to be... Oh, nice! Gumiho against Serrano. Oh, I can't wait to watch that. Serrano's PVT is pretty fun to watch. So
pretty good.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back with that after this quick commercial break.